So when we were looking at the cover crops, the numbers that we had seen was about our audience of no-till, there were like 79% were already using cover crops to some degree, versus maybe 10% of the general farm population. And so for cover crops to catch on with the more conventional type of farmer, what do you think needs to happen?
I would hope that they could see the financial benefits of it, that it really does pay. And especially if a farmer can truly see the importance of that soil health component, I think it'll begin to make a difference. But we provide cost share dollars with it. So I mean, it's the investment they have is small compared to the cost. And so again, trying to get farmers just to at least try it for the first time and see firsthand the results that they have on their farm. But you know, I know here at NRCS, it's definitely a priority that we want to see continue, and we certainly do our best to promote and tell the story and encourage folks to go talk to one of our technicians and conservationists and see what would work best for their operation.
You use no-till and cover crops on your own land. What has to happen for more of this to be embraced by the farm community? What's holding it back right now?
That's a great question. I really think that what needs to happen is, you know, good conservation makes good financial sense. But I think that, you know, the average age of our farming population is close to 60 years old, and farmers by nature, they can be a little independent, and sometimes they're a little resistant to change. And so I think until they can see that no-till farming or planting cover crops or, you know, getting a conservation plan on your farm, some people may see that as just an extra step or a burden. But really, when you can be a good environmentalist, I mean, it makes good financial sense for your operation. And I think that's really the key, is helping them to see that, yeah, it's going to take a little work or maybe take a change in your thinking up front, but it really does pay dividends later on down the line. And so it's having to be forward thinking. So at NRCS, I mean, I love when we have our forward-thinking progressive farmers that are excelling and they're willing to tell their story. Of course, having field days and having them speak at events and conferences, I think is extremely beneficial. But really a big part of what I want to see is just to really help get the word out. I was in Nebraska speaking a couple weeks ago, and as I was driving across the state, I'll be honest, I was surprised at the number of farms that didn't have cover crops. And you know, and I asked the question, why? And I think there's lots of reasons why. And of course, this year the season was much later, you know, with the wet weather, and farmers were later getting their crops off. And so, I mean, I understand a lot of that too. But I think it just comes down to a lack of education for them to see that if you can really improve the quality of your soil health, it will pay dividends down the road.
Our view was that cover crops was maybe a gateway to reduce tillage. Would that be a fair
statement? I think so, absolutely. Yeah. And what we've seen too, you know, with cover crops is it really, you know, we don't irrigate much where I live, and we don't irrigate at all on our farm. But when you have that cover crop planted and you come into the spring, you don't have to disturb the soil, you know, spray and kill the cover crop. It really makes a big difference on the moisture levels of the soil heading into spring and summer too. And so for us, where we don't have the option to provide water through irrigation, that's a big benefit as well. So yeah, I think they go hand in hand for sure.
Our thought was maybe that there's some people that the idea of no-till being too maverick or too much of a mindset change, but the cover crops, they catch their attention and they go to strip till or some other minimum till.
And I think honestly, once they try it one time and they see how successful it is, I mean, I think it's getting them to try it for the first time. But once they do it once and see how beneficial and how successful it can be, I think it really does begin to change the mindset. But you're right. I mean, farmers by nature are pretty traditional, and they like the routine. The other encouraging thing is that, you know, there's a huge mass of young folks that are interested in coming into agriculture. And we see it every day. Now, it may be a little different agriculture. You know, they've got more specialty or niche production or smaller scale or direct-to-consumer type operations. But there's an interest for that next generation. I speak a lot at beginning and young farmer conferences around the country, and nothing makes me more excited than seeing a group of 100 20-something, 30-something-year-old farmers. They're very progressive in their thought process. They're very big on technology and precision agriculture, and their ability to experiment and find out what works best for them. It's exciting. It really is. I'm very optimistic about the next generation of farmers.